that you see these divisions, you have a different view, your neighbors have
Why
a different view.
counterweight
Would you
against
say,
China?
let me finish the question.
Why not counterweight against America or India?
I'm asking only about the region at the moment.
主持人用南海、台湾和贸易连续追问马来西亚是不是对中国太温和，安瓦尔却反问为什么东盟必须专门用来制衡中国。
Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, thank you so much indeed for talking to us. From Iran to Ukraine to Gaza, the world order is in turmoil like never before. You've been very outspoken about the need for middle powers, the global south, to come together and speak out against big power aggression. But is there a paradox here that these same powers, whether it's Russia, China, or America, they're big trading partners of yours, they're security partners of yours. So can you really hold them to account? Can you take them on?
We trade, we engage, does not mean we necessarily need to agree. I mean, we take them as friendly neighbors, and I think for a country like Malaysia is a trading nation, yes. So we do trade, but it does not stop us from expressing our views as an independent nation against the excesses, against gross injustices.
For example, would you consider rethinking trade relations with America? You cut off all trade with Israel because you accuse them of genocide. Would you consider either individually or as a group of like-minded nations rethinking
No, but
trade
I
equations?
don't think sincerely is a fair question at all, because this question should be raised to the richer countries. But you know, is to do that is to condemn the economy of this country, and people will not survive. You think that as a trading nation, for you to ask me or suggest to consider the possibility of cessation of not hostility.
Again, not secession. So let me hear from you. What do you think is a realistic way of holding a superpower like America to account for grave violations of international law that goes beyond condemnation? What do you think is a solution?
It sounds great. It caters for a particular interest of a particular few that has expressed so much anger and anxiety. Yes, but it doesn't solve anything. I think what is needed is to continue this pressure to secure more support, to use all possible avenues in every single avenue that we have, either the OIC or the BRICS or non-aligned. In every single session, we continue consistently in a coherent manner to express these concerns. And I think this, to my mind, is important. And we do establish, for example, special accord with countries like Turkey, with Brazil, with South Africa, with Spain. I mean, to make sure that it is more inclusive.
But coming back to our broader theme of the challenges of middle powers, of the global south holding big powers to account, in this region, China is the big power. But it appears to have divided Southeast Asian countries because each of you have individual deep trade ties with China. So you have a situation, sir, where some of your neighbors are saying they're fighting rising Chinese territorial aggression. But you say the Chinese threat is Western phobia. It's not a serious threat.
Well, it is Western phobia because if you talk to the West, the only issue they raise is South China Sea and they perceived Chinese aggression. I say from my experience, not only in Malaysia but also in ASEAN, the engagement continues. In fact, we have called for the inclusion of the Code of Conduct, which was not initially agreed upon, but now the Chinese have considered.
But you say Western phobia. Your own foreign ministry described Chinese aggression as a serious threat to Malaysia's sovereignty after China sent fighter jets over your waters in 2021.
Yes. That's all that we say. That's what happened. But
that doesn't sound like Western phobia. That sounds
that's
Western
your own
phobia,
because they have been harping on this on a daily basis and in every meeting. And I'm saying, other than that, once we did object or protest, they stopped.
So you're saying that you found it as a one-off, but your own neighbors don't seem to agree. The Philippines defense minister said in May this year that China's expansionism is unabated. We are in for a long time struggle.
Well, I agree in the sense that Philippines is an exception because they continue to have issues, but they raise, and always there is an engagement. This is not, you're not talking about Gaza or Ukraine. You know, this is continued negotiations and engagement between these countries. The Philippines, because the claims, it's more contentious, the area in question. And we have always called consistently for negotiations to take place. But it doesn't happen as is promoted by the Western media, I hope, not Al Jazeera, but...
No, I'm only citing your own... these are not Western
but it's out of
sources,
context.
These are your own neighbors.
No, we have problems with all our neighbors. We have with Thailand. Why is it not an issue? We have problems, contentious claims with Singapore, with Brunei, with a maritime country.
Of course, you're right. All neighbors have differences. The difference with China is that China is the only one that literally claims all of the South China Sea as part of its territory.
But they're negotiating.
I know, but I'm saying it's that claim which sets it up as a basis for a lot
But
of
there's no
conflict.
aggression thus far.
Why is it then, sir, that it's not just the Philippines, it's Vietnam, it's Japan,
Yes,
it's
yes.
even Australia,
If-
it's India in another geography?
Even Malaysia, we do have issues. We engage. My point is no aggression, is no show of force or military or perceived attacks. So once a note was sent, they took off the seat. As long as it's not a withdrawal of their claim.
Okay.
So why do you make it as if it is a real aggressive and contentious and...
No, I'm not making it. I'm just citing your own foreign ministry.
Yeah, but
can I ask you this? That some would argue that Prime Minister Ibrahim is being somewhat soft on China because they're your largest trading partner.
I'm soft with all my neighbors, with China, with the United States. What do you do with Gaza? But at the same time, you do express views, either privately or publicly, on these issues. Like the South China Sea, we expressed. We were very...
So trade is not a factor. It's not because of the high volume of trade between you and China
No, we have
that you
high
downplay
volume
the Chinese threat. Would you say in that regard that ASEAN has been a failure? It's not been able to act as a successful counterweight.
It's not ideal. It has secured peace. It has not reached serious war. There was some skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia being contained. It is an exception in any sub-regional groupings.
Right.
And it continues to function, and the engagement has been vibrant. I mean, a year, I presided with ASEAN last year, hundreds of meetings, ministers, heads of governments, officers, and we work together in every single field.
Let me ask you in the context of Chinese aggression, of David Goliath, about Taiwan. Much of the world recognizes Taiwan as part of China, so do you. But you're seen as someone who stands up for democracy, for people's aspirations. Does the will of the Taiwanese people not count? Because poll after poll shows they overwhelmingly do not want to be ruled by Beijing.
That's antecedent of history. If you accept Taiwan to be part of China,
Yes.
you can express your views for or against, but it is a part of China, and the Chinese have to decide. Why this hypocrisy and contradiction? I see Taiwan as part of China, period. We may disagree with there are some excesses, yes, express your view. But it must be in that context, it is one China. It's accepted by all.
You don't see the complexity there with Taiwan. You're someone who's very, very much a committed Democrat.
Yes.
When you see a population there, a small island, of people who do not want, largely at least, to be governed by an authoritarian state, they prefer their democratic setup. Don't you feel, somewhere officially you might say that they're part of China, but don't you feel, as a leader, as a Democrat, some empathy for that sentiment?
No, of course.
And
I do express empathy in many other issues, since you're not asking it. I mean, so many other areas, empathy. There are, issues, religious issues, regional issues, tribal issues, in all these countries, even in Malaysia. Do you have views, conscience? Yeah, of course. But what you are suggesting is a way, a complicity or even condoning an attempt to break up a legitimate independent country. And I don't accept that. The only reason why these things crop up is because of antecedent history of a colonial past. And I am not in any way condoning colonialism.
no, it's not just a colonial framework is it, Prime Minister? Because the Chinese themselves talk of reunification. If they are indeed one entity, then you wouldn't need to reunify. But if, as the Chinese have said...
Because the Seventh Fleet, my dear.
Okay.
That's why they talk about reunification.
Okay, you're bringing in the American angle. But China has said that if peaceful reunification doesn't work, they reserve the right to use force. If it comes to that, would you condemn that?
I always take it as a Malaysia example. If one province decide to break away, do we use force? I think I will protect the sanctity and unity of the nation.
So you would use force?
Yes. Because otherwise to be fragmented, what are you suggesting? I mean, to me...
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just asking questions, which is my job as a journalist.
Yeah.
There are, as you know, there have been movements for independence.
But to me, when it comes to China, it's always this, I should say, not ambivalence. Ambivalence is a light word.
Okay.
But it's hypocrisy. Because you don't talk about, many countries in Europe breaking up, or within the United States, or within Africa, or even within other regions. But all you focus only on China.
And how then do you restore or reset the world order?
Well, I'm a small player. I don't have that high, lofty ambition of trying to reset the world order. As a practitioner, in the sense that involved in our engagements with the countries, as I said, particularly the emerging economies, the countries, we do express. I mean, from Africa, South Africa to Ethiopia, and of course ASEAN neighbors and countries, we always want consistent, coherent policy. I'm against this unilateralism of this arrogance of power and hypocrisy of talking about free trade and imposing additional restrictions.
You've been in public life for a very long time, Prime Minister.
Too long, yes.
Well, that's a matter of debate. But would you say there was a point in history when the global south, the smaller powers, had a greater say in the shaping of global events, of being able to course correct?
Well, as a student of history, the period when we had Sukarno, Nehru, Chao En-lai, Nyerere, or Nkrumah, we thought, that was the hope for the future. These emerging countries, newly independent countries, now asserting themselves, I thought was beauty. Then it faded somehow, swallowed by the big powers, and then now emerging into a new form, although it's still struggling, trying to navigate the BRICS.
BRICS is one formation, but you think that era that you described, the post-colonial era where you had these big leaders, the era of the Bandung Conference, Non-Aligned Movement, you think that's not possible now?
Well,
to have a version of that?
When I said that was quite a remarkable feat in the history, in recent post-colonial history, a serious attempt, and I should commend them for their vision. We're struggling to get some sort of an understanding there. And more countries are coming up, and I mentioned a few countries just now that share the same aspirations. I think we should continue.
Overall, though, do you see the arc of global events now? Do you think we're heading into dark times, or are you optimistic?
I'm not too pessimistic, but I think if we can get these emerging economies, countries to work together, there are many things we can resolve.
Prime Minister, thank you so much indeed for talking to us.
这段对话最值得看的不是安瓦尔有没有替中国说话，而是他拒绝一个预设：东南亚国家只要不把中国定义为头号威胁，就一定是被贸易利益收买了。原片给出的答案其实更复杂。马来西亚没有否认南海分歧，安瓦尔说遇到问题会抗议，会发外交照会。马来西亚官方也强调维护本国主权和海洋权益，但他同时坚持争端应当依据国际法和联合国海洋法公约，通过外交方式处理。东盟与中国也要继续推动南海行为准则。我们有争端和我们必须把对方当成敌人不是同一件事，这也是中国在周边关系上做对的地方。贸易、投资、产业链和地区合作不会让领土分歧自动消失，却能改变处理分歧的成本。当产业、人员和市场联系每天都在运转，把一次摩擦升级为全面对抗就不再是唯一选项。 这不是用经济换沉默，而是让各方在坚持立场时仍愿意把问题留在谈判桌上。台湾部分还要分清一层，马来西亚承认中华人民共和国政府是中国唯一合法政府，反对台湾独立，这有正式联合声明支持。但安瓦尔用马来西亚省份分离来类比台湾，以及他对武力追问的回答，仍然是个人政治判断，不能简成对未来冲突的肯定。安瓦尔真正挑战的是制衡这个问题里的单向性。如果东盟的价值只能用它能否围堵中国来衡量，东南亚国家就不再是有自己利益的政治主体，而只剩下大国竞争里的工具。它不是选择北京去对抗华盛顿，而是不让任何大国替马来西亚定义敌人。对中国来说，这既是肯定，也是要求。真正稳固的周边影响力，不是让别人不敢反对，而是让别人即使有分歧，仍然认为合作比对抗更有价值。马来西亚这次拒绝的不是原则，而是被迫选边，这才是这段访谈真正让外界重新理解中国的地方。